We reach our first trial in the new expansion Shadowbringers, and today we'll be defeating Titania in the Dancing Plague on the normal difficulty. My name is Sheil, and welcome to the Game Guru's Trial Guides. Titania is quite challenging and will test your party members immensely. There are some tough mechanics and frequent overlaps, however it's nothing that we haven't seen before. Keep in mind that there is a DPS check and coordination is required in order to successfully defeat this boss. Bright Sabbath is our party-wide AoE and will be the first ability she will cast. This will continue throughout the fight. Phantom Rune will either be a room-wide AoE or a close-range AoE. Players will have to stack or move out depending on the boss's forecast. Divination Rune is a frontal cone ability, so no party members other than the current tank should ever catch themselves in front of the boss. This is a hard-hitting ability, so tanks pop mitigation and healers prepare to top them back up. Mist Rune will summon 4 water pools on the ground and display a timer with purple orbs. If the timer expires and a pool is not soaked, an ad will spawn. Simply stand on the rune and don't worry about running through the purple orbs. They are just timers and they will not cause you any harm. Flame Rune will immediately follow up after the purple orbs fade, summoning a large fist over a player's head. The stack indicator will appear and the team will need to stack all together in one of the water pools. Rinse and repeat until Midsummer Night's Dream, which will transition into the next phase. This is where the difficulty starts to ramp up, with new abilities and overlaps from the moves from the previous phase. Growth Rune will spawn underneath the boss, telegraphed by a large purple asterisk star. This will display the direction the roots will spread. Move in between the roots to prevent getting rooted and receiving a nasty dot. Once the roots are clear, you're free to move and reposition if needed. Frost Rune is a dynamic AoE ability that starts in the middle and spreads either counterclockwise or clockwise, similar to the Shiva fight. To avoid this, run just next to the first outer circle spawn. From here, you could do one of two things: wait for the middle to shatter and move there, or wait a second for the first outer circle to shatter and then move there. If you have the mobility, continue to tail the shattering circles because most likely pink AoE circles will start popping up, limiting the safe areas for your party. Move out to the sides to avoid getting hit, but don't forget about the frost runes, which could still cause a problem. Eventually, Titania will move into the middle of the encounter area and become untankable. She'll then summon 3 ads and display an additional power bar. These ads need to be focused down and killed, and each have unique abilities. Peace Blossom will use Peace Bomb, which targets players with pink circles, and Hard Swipe, which is just a big hit on the tank. Puck will use Gentle Breeze, which is a straight line AoE, and use Pummel, which is just another hard-hitting direct attack. Mustard Seed, the final ad, will use Leaf Storm, which is a splitting AoE cone attack. If done correctly and the ads are dead, your power bar should be no higher than 40-45 max. If it ends up any higher, the next phase is going to cause you trouble. Once the ads are dead, Titania will begin to cast Love and Idleness, which respawn her saplings into much bigger trees on the outsides of the arena. The ads will now have a few new abilities that your team must deal with. Mustard Seed will again use Leaf Storm, which is the same AoE, just targeting a much larger area. Peace Blossom will continue to cast Peace Bomb, forecasted by pink AoE circles. Players need to be spread out to avoid the multiple AoEs on the ground. Finally, players will have to deal with Puck's Breath, which is a stacking mechanic, and Puck's Caprice, which is a large frontal AoE. To add even more complexity to this fight, Titania will do an area-wide knockback. The closer you are to the middle, the more damage you will take. Be sure to position yourself so the knockback won't push you into any of the AoEs, and don't worry about getting knocked off. You can't in this difficulty. You'll have to deal with all of the overlapping abilities while once again nuking down the ads. This is where you'll want to be using your Limit Break 3. Discuss with your party on what ad you want to use it on and maximize it on it now, because you will be able to generate another Limit Break by the end of the fight. After all the ads are dead, Titania will then use a very familiar party-wide massive AoE, stand in the middle, and get ready to shield and heal. The more power she has stored up, the harder the hit will be, so be prepared. If Titania generates 100 power, this will result in a wipe. The final phase of the fight combines all of her previous mechanics, overlapping more frequently, but don't worry about the saplings ever returning. The only change is to one of the abilities' growth rune. It will now spawn in 2 locations, making it a bit harder to position. The easiest way to avoid this is to run to the corner opposite of where the roots are growing. Rinse and repeat until the boss is near death, and then use that juicy second limit break 3. Communication is key when it comes to mastering this fight, especially when things get hectic during the ad phase. Plan ahead and know which ads to focus down first to avoid any confusion mid-pull. Peace Blossom will always spawn to the western side, Puck will always spawn to the north, and Mustard Seed will always spawn to the east. Communicate and let everyone know west, north, east for downing the ads. If people decide to kill Mustard Seed first, it will be east, north, west. Both ways work, it's just important to focus them down instead of spreading damage. I hope this guide helped you understand and defeat Titania in the Dancing Plague. And if you did, give it a like and consider subscribing for more Final Fantasy content. And remember, you could also join me and the rest of our Final Fantasy community on Discord. That link will be in the description below. My name is Sheil, and whether it's magic, mystery, or mayhem, remember, you'll always be Fate Ool's little sapling.